Hello friends, I am from Chemistry faculty of QLS Academy. Today we are going to learn about salts, the product of neutralization reactions. I hope you will enjoy today's learning. So let's get started with our today's lesson. For last 3 classes we have discussed about neutralization reactions. We have extensively discussed about the reactants of the reaction. हमने neutralization के reactants means acids and bases के बारे में पढ़ा है. Now it's time we pay attention to the major product of the reaction, that is salts. So, if you ever been asked what is a salt, कोई आपसे कभी पूछे what is a salt, you can say that salt is an ionic compound formed when an acid and a base reacts with each other, where the cationic portion comes from the base while the anionic portion comes from the acid. Now, let's classify salts. Firstly, let's classify them based on the acids and bases they have formed from. सॉल्ट्स किस तरह के एसिड्स एंड बेसिस से फॉर्म हुए हैं उनके बेसिस पे हम उन्हें क्लासिफाई करते हैं. हमने लास्ट क्लास में देखा था कि एसिड्स एंड बेसिस दो तरह के होते हैं, स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड वीक. द एसिड्स एंड बेसिस विच डिसोसिएट कंप्लीटली इन सॉल्यूशंस आर कंसिडर्ड एज स्ट्रॉन्ग. फॉर एग्जांपल हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड, सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड, सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड. While the acids and bases which partially dissociate in solutions are considered as weak. For example, acetic acid, carbonic acid. So, based on the type of acid and base reacted with each other, salts can be of 3 types: acidic, basic and neutral. Salts formed during neutralization reactions are not necessarily neutral. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि neutralization reaction में जितने भी salts form हो रहे हैं वो सब neutral होंगे. It is only the acids and bases with equal strength which are capable of producing neutral salts. If a strong acid reacts with a weak base, an acidic salt is formed. For example, ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride is formed when hydrochloric acid, a strong acid, reacts with ammonium hydroxide, a weak base. The pH of acidic salts are lower than 7. And when a weak acid, जब एक weak acid react करता है strong base के साथ, a basic salt is formed. For example, sodium carbonate. Sodium carbonate is formed when carbonic acid, which is a weak acid, reacts with sodium hydroxide, a strong base. The pH of basic salts are greater than 7. Now, finally, the neutral salts. Salts with pH equal to 7 are produced when strong acids react with strong bases. For example, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is formed when hydrochloric acid, a strong acid, reacts with sodium hydroxide, a strong base. Salts can also be classified by their anionic and cationic group. Salts में किस तरह का anionic group present है, salt में किस तरह का cationic group present है, हम इसके basis पे भी salt को classify कर सकते हैं. For example, the salts having sodium ion as its cationic half are placed in family of sodium salts like sodium chloride, sodium carbonate, sodium sulfate. While the salts having magnesium ion in its cationic half are placed in the family of magnesium salts like magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride. The salts having chloride ion as their anionic half are placed in family of chloride salts like sodium chloride, ammonium chloride, potassium chloride, while salts with sulfate and ion are placed in family of sulfate salts like magnesium sulfate, potassium sulfate and copper sulfate. हम जो salts देखते हैं वो हमें दिखने में ड्राई लगते हैं. हम घर में कॉमन सॉल्ट भी यूज़ करते हैं, नमक जो हम खाने में यूज़ करते हैं वो भी देखते हैं, वो हमको दिखने में ड्राई लगता है. हम और भी बहुत सारे सॉल्ट्स होते हैं जो दिखने में ड्राई लगते हैं, बट दे आर एक्चुअली नॉट ड्राई. There is also a class of salts called as hydrated salts. Some salts like copper sulfate contains water. ये दिखने में, टच करने में ड्राई लगते हैं, but they do contain water. This water is called as water of crystallization. Why water of crystallization? Because the water molecules remain attached to the molecules of salt even when the salt is dried to form its crystal. सॉल्ट का ड्राइड फॉर्म वो क्रिस्टल फॉर्म में भी वाटर मॉलिक्यूल के साथ अटैच्ड रहता है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दिस वाटर इज नोन एज वाटर ऑफ क्रिस्टलाइजेशन. द ब्यूटिफुल ब्लू कलर ऑफ कॉपर सल्फेट क्रिस्टल्स इज बिकॉज ऑफ द वाटर प्रेजेंट इन द क्रिस्टल्स. कॉपर सल्फेट इज अ पेंटाहाइड्रेटेड सॉल्ट. Each molecule of copper sulfate remain attached to 5 molecules of water. So it is represented as CuSO4 5H2O. Ferrous sulfate is a heptahydrated salt. Sodium carbonate is a decahydrated salt. Calcium sulfate is a dihydrated salt. These salts, when heated, loses their water of crystallization and becomes dehydrated. Like when blue crystals of copper sulfate is heated, it becomes white in color by losing its water molecules. Calcium sulfate, when heated above 100 degrees centigrade, becomes calcium sulfate hemihydrated. Hemihydrated means आधा. This hemihydrated calcium sulfate is known as plaster of Paris. When the dihydrated calcium sulfate is known as gypsum. जो dihydrated calcium sulfate था उसे हम gypsum कहते हैं और hemihydrated form को हम कहते हैं plaster of Paris. Hemihydrated का मतलब क्या होता है? Hemihydrated means one molecule of water is shared by two molecules of calcium sulfate. दो molecule है calcium sulfate के, उनके बीच में एक water molecule है. So we can write it as CaSO4 twice H2O. The dehydrated salts can be rehydrated. जो salts dehydrate हो गए, जिनमें से water lose हो गया है, हम उन्हें दोबारा से hydrated form में वापस ला सकते हैं by exposing them to moisture. When copper sulfate is kept in a moist environment, it will regain its water of crystallization and will again become blue in color. Similarly, plaster of Paris is mixed in water, it will convert back to gypsum. Now, do you know where plaster of Paris is used and why plaster of Paris is named as plaster of Paris? Plaster of Paris को plaster of Paris क्यों कहते हैं? Plaster of Paris is named so because it is prepared from gypsum, which is found in abundance around Paris. The orthopedic cast used to hold fractured bones, the decorative designs on walls and ceilings, sculptures are all made up of plaster of Paris. Now friends, let's see the usage of salts in our daily life. The most commonly used salt is sodium chloride, NaCl. It is used in the preparation of all type of food items all around the globe. Sodium chloride is extracted from the mixture of salts obtained by evaporating seawater. Salts are also mined from different parts of the world as well. The large crystals of salt are known as rock salt. They are formed when the sea of bygone ages dried up. These crystals of rock salt appear brownish to pinkish to yellowish, depending on the type and amount of impurities present in them. These salts serve as raw material for many other day-to-day useful substances like baking soda, washing soda, bleach, etc. When electricity is passed through aqueous sodium chloride solution, which we commonly call as brine, it decomposes to form sodium hydroxide, chlorine gas and hydrogen gas. This process of breakdown of brine is known as chlor-alkali process. Chlor for chlorine and alkali is sodium hydroxide. ब्राइन में से जब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पास होता है, द क्लोरीन गैस इज गिवन आउट एट एनोड. एनोड के पास क्लोरीन गैस इवॉल्व होती है, while at cathode sodium hydroxide solution is formed along with evolution of hydrogen gas. All these three products are further utilized to make more useful products like sodium chloride is used directly in chemical laboratories or used to make soaps and detergent. It is also used in oil refineries, paper and textile mills. Hydrogen gas is used as a clean fuel, also to manufacture other compounds like ammonia and acids. हाइड्रोजन एंड क्लोरीन गैस जो इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं, जब हम उनको मिक्स करेंगे तो हमें मिलेगा हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड. Chlorine gas alone is used in chemical treatment of water for manufacturing of disinfectants, insecticides, for manufacturing of synthetic polymers like PVC and etc. Chlorine gas is even used to manufacture bleach. Chlorine gas, when passed over dry slaked lime, means dry calcium hydroxide, bleaching powder is produced. Chemically, bleaching powder is represented as CaOCl2, calcium oxychloride. It is also known as chloride of lime. Bleaching powder is a strong oxidizing agent, so it is used in many chemical industries for carrying out variety of reactions. It is also used to disinfect water from harmful microbes to make it safe for drinking. Bleaching powder is extensively used in textile and paper industries to bleach cotton, linen and wood pulp. Bleach fabrics and wood pulp के colored substances को decolorize कर देता है so that their further processing and refining becomes easier. The next product is sodium hydrogen carbonate, which we commonly known as baking soda. Sodium hydrogen carbonate is equal to baking soda. Baking soda is produced when brine, aqueous solution of sodium chloride, is treated with carbon dioxide and ammonia. हम यहाँ पे ब्राइन का डायरेक्टली यूज़ करेंगे. हम एक्वा सोल्यूशन बनाएंगे सोडियम क्लोराइड का जो कि ब्राइन है, फिर हम उसे कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड अमोनिया के साथ ट्रीट करेंगे. Sodium hydrogen carbonate is produced along with ammonium chloride. As the name suggests, baking soda is majorly used in baking purposes. Baking soda is used to make baking powder, which is a mixture of baking soda and a mild acid like tartaric acid. When baking soda means sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated in presence of any acid, it produces carbon dioxide gas along with water and a sodium salt of the acid. The carbon dioxide produced make the bread, cakes, pastries, etc. to rise and become soft and spongy. Sodium hydrogen carbonate is not restricted to baking purposes only. It is also used as an ingredient in antacids. If you recall from our last class, metal hydrogen carbonates are basic in nature. When dissolved in water, they produces bases. That's why they are basic in nature. So, being basic in nature, sodium hydrogen carbonate is used to neutralize the excess of acid produced in our stomach during acidity. It has also found applicability in the manufacturing of soda acid fire extinguishers. Soda acid fire extinguishers contain solution of sodium hydrogen carbonate and sulfuric acid, which are made to react with each other by turning on the knob. Carbon dioxide gas is produced when both the solution react with each other, and you all know that carbon dioxide cuts off supply of oxygen to the burning substance and terminate the fire. The next useful substance produced by common salt is known as sodium carbonate, which is commonly known as washing soda. Washing soda, sodium carbonate, is obtained by heating the crystals of sodium hydrogen carbonate. जब sodium hydrogen carbonate को हम heat करेंगे तो हमको sodium carbonate मिलता है. Sodium hydrogen carbonate, when heated, it decomposes. It is thermal decomposition. It decomposes into sodium carbonate, water and carbon dioxide. सोडियम कार्बोनेट अकेला वॉशिंग सोडा नहीं होता. सिर्फ सोडियम कार्बोनेट अगर हम लेंगे, सिर्फ अकेला सोडियम कार्बोनेट Na2CO3, ये वॉशिंग सोडा नहीं है. इट इज़ द डेकाहाइड्रेटेड सोडियम कार्बोनेट विच वी कॉल वॉशिंग सोडा. सो washing soda is a type of hydrated salt. Like sodium hydrogen carbonate, sodium carbonate is also basic in nature. Sodium carbonate is used for a variety of cleaning purposes to remove hardness of water for manufacturing of other sodium compounds like borax. It is also used for a variety of purposes in paper and glass industries. So friends, this was all about salts. Now we know that there is a variety of salts out there: acidic salts, basic salts, neutral salts, hydrated salts, dehydrated salts. You also know how to classify salts into different families based on their cation and anions. And at last, we have also learned some common day-to-day useful substances derived from common salt, that is sodium chloride. So friends, with this we have completed our chapter acids, bases and salts. In next class, we will be back with a new chapter to discuss. Till then, if you have any query or need any information, you can visit the following given link.